Alright, welcome everyone to some Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. There was a storm outside. Wasn't really keen on recording with all that thunder in the background. Now it's just lightly raining. And also I'm really tired now, so it's gonna make for the least enthusiastic sounding recording in a while, but look, I'm in a food coma right now. Look, I'm not really that great off right now. Not feeling great, but we'll just go and chug through it and we'll see how we go. So today's video on Deep Elf Fire Elementalist. We're going through Lair, which is a fairly tough enemy for Deep Elf to face. There's a lot of pack enemies, high speed enemies, poison enemies, which really do try to interfere a little bit with our whole plan of don't let things get in melee. On top of that, everything tends to be in open space, meaning we have a lot less time to restrict our enemies from moving. So generally, the idea of let's not let anything get into melee with us is a little bit flawed. In general. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it. Also, I probably should go and get the Google Doc. There you go. Alright, sorry about that. I added some extra... I'm adding some extra tips after each video. So you should probably check the document out now if you haven't already. Just making sure to add some extra stuff to it. Just any tidbits I forget. I just usually chuck into the document. So, like I said, it's in the description if you're looking for it. But yeah, generally we still got the same game plan. Don't let stuff get in melee with us. If stuff does get in melee with us, which is fairly acceptable now considering most of our damage, most of our plans rely on using corridors and upstairs and such, and they're less available in there. Sticky Flame will probably be the spell that we use a lot. I should also keep in mind that on unexplored floors, I tend to use Fireball a little bit less, and that the main reason is because I don't want to attract everything on the floor. But here you can see me cast Conjure Flame, and then one strike of the yak causes it to walk into the fire, which is very useful for us. We can just kind of stand there and let it burn to death. So it's pretty helpful. Okay, Conjure Flame. Oops, wrong button, I think. There we go. The the crocodile decides to attack the bush to try to get through, but I'm not going to let it. There's a Minotaur's Labyrinth on this floor. It's not exactly the best idea to go into Minotaur's Labyrinth, again, because the enemy in there is incredibly powerful compared to us, and we don't really have an incredible way of guaranteeing that we can actually kill the Minotaur. If he has something strong, like any ranged attack, we have really no chance of survival. So, going in there is fine, but if I don't go in there, I'm actually completely happy to do it. Again, if I was playing fairly optimally, I would avoid going into time portals that I'm not ready to go into, especially those where the Minotaur is literally guarding the exit. I'd also never rush my my gameplay to try to get to the clock. I know it's ticking away, I don't really care. It's not a huge deal. I know for a fact that if I go in there, and say for example it has a bolt of acid, a wand of acid, I'd just be straight up dead. I wouldn't have any chance of surviving, so it's not great. Black Mamba is a very scary enemy for us to face. It's very fast and poisonous, pretty much the epitome of... I just realized, is that Epitome? Holy shit. Wait. Sorry, guys. Oh, fuck. Sorry. So, you know those words where you only read them in, in books and stuff, and then you never actually make the connection between that and the spoken word? Epitome and epitome were different things to me about 5 seconds ago. Oh man, my brain hurts. Well, mind is blown. Nice. Alright, Black Mamba. steps into the fire like a fool, and we're able to kill him. Freezing Cloud down to 36%. We probably won't be using it until it gets down to about 10%. At this stage in the game, it's probably just a waste of 6 mana to cast. We did pick up another staff though. This is a Staff of Death, completely irrelevant to this character, who is a fire mage. The only ones that we really care for would be the Staff of Fire, Conjurations, Power, which gives you extra mana, or Energy, which is the strongest staff, and it makes all your spells hungerless, as it removes one consideration from your spell slot thing entirely. Alright, Book of Cantrips is one of the more powerful books in the game. Gives us Animate Skeleton, which I'm going to put on Shift Q. I can make a macro with tilde. Press M to hit macro. Press C to hit to create a macro. Z Shift Q to create this new macro. So now whenever I press C, which is the butcher button ordinarily, it becomes Animate Skeleton dead instead. For enemies that don't get macroed, I guess I can use Shift Q and make that C. So if I need to butcher something, I can press Shift Q, but my muscle memory will automatically raise stuff for me. Also, I remember that there was actually a scroll of blinking on D6, which I can now apport. So Animate Skeleton is really doesn't need much introduction, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it because this is, again, the beginner's guide to magic. It effectively just turns a corpse into a skeleton and leaves you with chunks. For a short amount of time, they'll stay with you and soak up hits and be generally quite good. I don't know if it's exactly good to pick on a caster because it does tend to have some fairly bad anti-synergy with some of your more offensive conjurations, but in this case specifically, it's not too bad because, first of all, the skeletons act as little distractions. They can deal some pretty hefty damage if you get enough of them surrounding an enemy, and also Freezing Cloud will sort of not damage them as much because they'll be very resistant to cold. So Freezing Cloud would be pretty good synergy with them. Apportation, on the other hand, is another level 1 spell, which is really good. So I'm going to go ahead and learn it right now. It basically just pulls an item from the floor to the tile you're on. At low spell power, it doesn't really do it very well and just kind of pulls it a couple of tiles towards you, but here it's just kind of a force pull, which means we can use it to pull all of the stuff on this area to us. So that gives us a free scroll of blinking and a free scroll of identification, which I'll use on the scrolls. Okay, more useless crap, that's fine. I can pull up here, grab some more stuff. Scroll of Holy Word. These Scrolls of Holy Word kind of suck, but for now, when I don't really have many spell slots that item slots that I care about, like, it's fine. I only have 36 slots filled up after all. I can drop it later on if I don't need it. Holy Word is, of course, just, it deals damage to undead. It kind of sucks, like, because rarely will you ever have to fight undead that are actually scary. So this is a slimy hunting sling. This is actually worth considering. +9 velocity, that's incredible, actually. I can go ahead and find some sling bullets here. I guess we'll go pick up a couple more. Just not too many, I don't really care that much, but I'm just going to pick up maybe like... Yeah, this is good enough. Alright, so I got about 87 sling bullets. This hunting sling is actually, at +9, this hunting sling is doing pretty good damage, and generally will be, quite useful for us to just poke stuff at. I'm going to throw all of my throwable needles and javelins and such. The sling largely replaces that slot of full screen damage. It also means that the whole throw flame deal doesn't really need to be there because this will do comparable damage for free. 0 mana cost. Other spells in the Book of Cantrips: Summon Small Mammal, which does exactly what it says, and Confusing Touch, which requires me to be unarmed and also in melee with opponent and make an unarmed attack against said opponent. And then it's a hex. It's not incredibly good for this character. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw sling bullets at the opponent. As you can see, 3 slingshots, even with the even with 0 slings, still very effective, so I'll go ahead and take that. There's a yak over here. I'm not going to bother hitting him because I got a free fireball shot. This is what I mean by just maximizing your fireball gains, I guess. I could shoot like this and then it'll kill 3, or I could shoot like this and it'll hit 4. Working with Sorry, that's why I say that Fireball is really mana efficient. You can see that I have the equivalent of 4 attacks for only 6 mana. It's very cheap. Alright, so here's some undead that I just randomly started making. Say hello to undead, Yak Skeleton. They just disappear over time. There's a bit of a nerf, but it's fine. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a big ruckus on this upstairs. Use Sticky Flame and Fireball, just make a buttload of noise. Pull upstairs one time. As you can see, we're taking a lot of damage, even from a frog. That's unfortunately the cost of playing a deep elf. The Komodo Dragon is now on the downstairs. He's just gonna probably be lying in wait for us, so we're gonna go down a different one. This vampire mosquitoes are quite dangerous. I can do a edge fireball here. Okay, this is very scary for us to be in. Okay, we should consider running away now. I actually will. Holy Word. The reason why I'm doing that is because vampire mosquitoes are actually undead, and Holy Word kills all of them. It's a very small interaction, but we're going to use the resources that are kind of crap first, and just, it'll make our lives a bit more convenient. So here I'm on the upstairs, and I know for a fact that all the other staircases are kind of shitty, so I'm going to go ahead and try to just make a bit of a stand here. I don't really have a choice. I'm trying to consider which spells are more efficient for me to use right now. I think Iskender's Mystic Blast can hit 2 guys, so I'll try to use that, I guess. I'm going to pull 1 Yak up, because I can afford to do that. He's a 10-speed enemy, and I can just cast Sticky Flame on cooldown. However, that does make that downstairs completely unusable at this point. So I'm gonna have to take my chances with the Komodo Dragon, which is gonna be an issue, but it's fine, I guess. Okay, just hit him with a couple of IMBs. There we go, great. Komodo Dragons are very scary. They hit for about 30-something damage, which is quite a lot. They can definitely ruin your day if you're not paying attention. Even though they're 10-speed enemies, they're quite rough to fight. Okay, now see here, I can't actually animate this vampire mosquito because he's a corpse, but if he did drop regular chunks, I would have butchered him with Shift Q. It's just a little bit of the utility that I was talking about before. So as you can see here, Lair is fairly tough for a new mage. That's a lot of situations there where a new player could have easily been overwhelmed. You really just have to play it slowly. The more slowly you play it, the more likely you'll make it out of a position. But like I said, the general tenets are very, very, very basic. You just kind of stick to the same rules. Melee is really not a great spot for them to be in. If you can avoid it, obviously. The rules are a little bit bent once you get in Lair, because it's hard to avoid melee at all times, but, you know, sometimes you can avoid it. This is a great fireball sniping spot right here. Boom, like that. It actually reaches entirely around my ally, which is really cool. That's why you should always, whenever you have a fireball, you should try to test, like, where your fireball can hit and experiment with it. You'll eventually figure out, slowly over time, how the fireball operates. It has weird rules, and it's kind of fun to use. You can use it to, like, kind of reach around stuff if you really need to. In certain locations, like that. See, I can reach around this specific tile here. Also, keep in mind that I'm on the upstairs, which is really important, which is why I'm confident in casting my fireball. It's not the greatest position to be in, but I'm doing it because I know that even if I draw stuff up to me, I can just pull upstairs and then drop down a different staircase. Obviously not as applicable right now because all the other staircases are also kind of blocked. But I'm hoping that some of the mess from the other staircases comes over to me at some point, and that is what keeps me going. Alright, Freezing Cloud is somehow down to 8% already. That's ridiculous. That's the power of the, you know, whole deep elf nonsense. I'm going to train Ice Magic probably to about 8-ish, and then train a bit more Conjurations, because that'll chug along and get our Freezing Cloud down a little more, and it'll also increase the spell power of all of our Conjuration spells, which is pretty important at this point. Ice Magic is only given... Actually, you know what? I can just turn Ice Magic off completely, turn a bit of Air Magic on, get that to maybe like 3, and that'll drop the Freezing Cloud down to a very respectable 4% or something like that. Pretty helpful. Spellcasting obviously should stay on, gives us more mana, gives us less spell hunger. Just pretty good, and more spell levels, of course. Fighting is good to have on for more health. I'm trying to focus it now because Deep Elf has a big hill to overcome with fighting. They have to really get through that -2 aptitude, grind it out, get as much fighting and health as they can. Because as you can see, in Lair, I already had to have, like, more melee encounters than I've already had in, like, the last 3 or so videos. It's actually crazy how many times things have gotten into melee with me. And with only 64 hit points, I am very, very, very vulnerable to things. So I need to be extremely cautious. I only have 3 armor, and I only have 16 evade, so I'm very easy to kill right now. Okay. Let's go ahead and find those gloves. Gloves are really good for this character. It gives me extra hit AC, up to 3 I think, so that's good. Plus 2 gloves, yep, 3 AC. So I doubled my AC just by wearing gloves. How great. Also note that when I picked up those gloves, I immediately walked all the way back to the known, and then I put them on. That's to keep me from getting caught out while I'm putting the gloves on. It's pretty straightforward, I guess. Okay, there's a wyvern to the north. I actually need to DPS him down pretty quick. So, you can change the targeting between your enemies with plus and minus, but this only applies for enemies that are in range of your spells. Here, Fireball doesn't know that it's in range, but it actually is in range if you use the 1 extra tile. I know the wyvern is moving significantly faster than the yak, so I need to kill it more quickly than the yak. The yak is 10 speed and doesn't pose as much of a threat. Also note that the second I made all that noise, I backed off from the source of the noise, which was me at the time. This is to prevent enemies from, trying to flank me or catch me out. Alright, cool. Let's go ahead and throw some spells at that vampire mosquito, get back to the upstairs, even though I already kind of got to full mana already. We're kind of making a big leap into the unknown here. Let's pull back. Yep, as you can see, the vampire mosquito is trying to flank us. But because we were able to kind of make our way back and towards the left, we were able to get them all in one spot and then just kind of fireball them down. Again, our goal should always be to retreat back to the known. This increases the safety of our position. And it means that instead of being backspawned here while fighting 4 blink frogs, I only have to fight 1. Now I have to fight these blink frogs, but that's mostly okay. Gonna cast Freezing Cloud here, so as you can see, these dark white tiles means that there's definitely going to be a cloud in these tiles. The light white tiles means that it might be. But yeah, I end up with this specific tile setup, that's fine. Freezing Cloud is really good because it creates literally ice clouds on the target location. It's not a direct damage spell, but it definitely has its uses. I'm going to go ahead and try to show you guys how that works. So right here, for example, I can place ice clouds in front of the enemies, they walk into it, kind of like Conjure Flame, and I just kind of let them all die in front of my fire. I'm going to put more points into Int, because why not? Also, there's a small interaction that you have to figure out. If you fire a fire spell in an ice cloud, it actually cancels the cloud out. Which means that there is anti-synergy between our spell set. However, I can just use this spell and IMB to kind of get over that. Amulet of Harm. So, let me just take a small sip of water. I apologize for this, but actually, I could mute my mic. I'll mute it now. One sec. Okay. Sorry about that. The Amulet of Harm you would expect to be kind of cool on a mage because you don't want to ever get in melee, but no, the actual reality is that Amulet of Harm sucks. Mostly because if an enemy is ranged or does get in melee with you, you'll be absolutely destroyed because you have no way of mitigating your damage anyway. Alright, we got a Scroll of Acquirement. So generally, armor is good for most characters. Book is kind of good occasionally, but in this case, I don't think it is. Staff is also really good. I like to get Staff. I feel like that's a weird choice, but now that because armor is kind of a iffy position, we might get like a shield or something. It's just completely useless. Well, armor is good. Armor is really good, but Staff is like probably the more potentially effective thing. So I kind of want to get it. Excellent. Excellent. Radical. Alright, sweet. So what we basically picked up there was a Staff of Energy. This Staff of Energy lets you do two things. First of all, it makes your spells hungerless, and secondly, it lets you channel mana with by pressing the V button. And you have to train evocations to make that a little better. So right now, I do it. Okay, say for example, I throw Flame Tongue out. So right there, I channeled mana, and it cost me some hunger, but it gave me my mana back. That's a pretty useful tool, but the most important thing is that it turns my spells into hungerless spells. Meaning this Freezing Cloud is now only costing me 4 mana, and it's not costing me half a ration every time I cast it, which is really damn good. Wow. Some of these vaults are really broken now that everything is rations. That makes no sense in my brain. It's like, wow, those are supposed to be fruit, but they're not. They're just bits of bread. That's very odd. Man, I don't really want to put an opinion. I don't really want to make an opinion of this food change in this video specifically because, again, I'm trying to be serious here. But if I weren't making a tutorial video, I probably would have talked a little bit about it. I actually like these food changes, but I don't like the fact they're all bread. I feel like they should be like a pill of slush or something like that. I don't know. Like just slops, just rations, as in a literal, meat blob or some gray slime that people just eat. Because having bread is kind of weird. I don't know. I don't really like that. But anyway, it's fine. Here's a Torpor Snail. Torpor Snail. He's gonna go ahead and slow me. I'm not really too fussed about that. But here, notice how I can throw ice on this area, and this guy doesn't actually aggro on me because he doesn't realize I'm attacking him. And also, he's he's not immune, but he is very resistant to cold, so we'll take a little bit more. He'll take a lot less damage. That was a bit of a risky position because, as you can see, I can actually place clouds on myself. I probably shouldn't do that ever again. Also, Sticky Flame apparently removes the ice clouds. That was dumb. Okay, alright, Ogreb's Toxic Radiance. Now, this is a spell that I really like using. It is full screen range. Basically, it just makes you exude an aura of poisoning everything on the screen slowly over a couple of turns. It's really mana efficient because for 4 mana you can heavily poison everything on the screen. It's really, really long range, full screen. It's also very AoE. The only issue with it is that it's just poison damage, which is good. It's really good, don't get me wrong, but it does take some time to take effect, and it also only works on non-poison resistant enemies. However, in this case, I think it's actually being superseded by the Freezing Cloud. So in this case, Freezing Cloud is also, like I said, it's the mana efficient, ranged, damagey spell that's off element. I think in this case, Freezing Cloud actually trumps the Olgrub's Toxic Radiance, and it would be inefficient to learn both, so I'm just not going to do that. Another example of me just kind of not really trying to me trying to manage my spells properly. Okay, so this Harold fellow is a guy who can throw firebolts. We can actually abuse the interaction that I was talking about. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. We can actually abuse the interaction that I was talking about. He can't throw firebolts through this ice cloud because it'll just cancel out his firebolt really quickly. Also, this is what I meant by clouds can be used to shape other clouds. As you can see here, if I put the cloud right here, my ice clouds will actually flow out of this little hole and hit Harold directly. So I can do that now. And that's going to engulf him in ice clouds. I can then use the non-elemental spell of IMB to pierce him through these clouds. And as you can see there, it was very effective. Alright, there's a 7-headed Hydra. Ordinarily, I would bother to engage upon him, but I will not. I will actually go upstairs. This is because I have low mana. I don't want to be in a position where I have no mana and I have to go upstairs against a Hydra. Because it is very likely that in the time it takes for me to go upstairs, the Hydra can kill me. Like, almost, like, certain, actually. So, it's not a great idea for me to do that. So, I will engage him at my optimal power, at my optimal range, which is at full screen. Okay, these electric eels are very dangerous. I have a very specific strategy for them, which is usually throwing some fire spell at them as the fire elementalist, and just sort of letting them go. What I'll do here is I'll stand at the very edge of line of sight, and ping my longest range spell at them. This is so that if I need to back off, I can by moving one tile to the right, and they cannot chase me. It also lets us kind of just fight them with our spell. So there's deep water here, I can't cross it. I would ordinarily need to fly, but apportation lets us pull it across, and we can just go upstairs and try it on. Magic resistance, that's great. So this thing gives us 1 extra pip of MR. It's pretty good for us, I suppose. Also turns us into a snazzy black-robed dude. It's pretty cool. Oh, we have a scarf on, that's right. There's no scarf tile, I forgot. Alright, Komodo Dragon. Just gonna shoot. I'm keeping in mind, of course, there is potential that a Hydra could come from behind and hurt me, but, you know, whatever. It's fine. He managed to break the bush in time. I'm just gonna go ahead and kill him anyway. There's the Hydra. Again, I'm not at max HP. Not at max mana, so I'm not gonna bother. And I'm not gonna go down this staircase, because there's a good chance that he could just be in melee with me. And I don't wanna... Like I said, that's a very bad risk that I'm not willing to take at all. I'm gonna cast Fireball a couple of times here. It's going to attract the attention of enemies. Maybe cast a Freezing Cloud here and there. Freezing Cloud is also has the incredible benefit of slowing cold-blooded enemies. Very powerful. So there you could see the Spiny-Toad went from searching for me to right next to me on the downstairs. This is the kind of bullshit that you have to kind of take into account when you play. I don't have poison resistance. Okay, I'm going to blink here a couple of times just to get a free tile away from him and then run. Like, you really do need to be quite careful when it comes to this, to dealing with enemies on the upstairs and downstairs. They will mess you up. Okay, so I'm going to cast Freezing Cloud here, a massive blanket of Freezing Clouds. Hoping that one of these idiots just walks into it like a dumbass. He did, actually. Pull upstairs. The Blink Frog, like, it's weird because the Blink Frogs should be staying in melee if they knew how to play this game, but they don't, so I can just abuse that and then just kind of walk off. Oops, where's my... Oh, right, sorry, I have Caps Lock on again. Caps Lock screws up all your commands, by the way. It makes them all shift commands, which isn't great. Okay, I'm just going to sit over here. I know there's a Hydra somewhere on the floor. I want to avoid fighting him too much. Okay, there's 2 enemies in melee with me. Let's just try to avoid that. If you have more enemies in melee with you than you can handle, you're gonna die. So I made sure there to make sure I was moving every time I had 2 enemies next to me, if they were 10 speed, because I would avoid damage until only 1 guy was there next to me. It's simply just a way of me making sure I don't instantly die to Spiny Toads. I'm gonna use Ice Cloud here just to kind of stand... sorry, my undead blocks them, I suppose, as they stand in the cloud, and it just kills them over time. Once they're in a cloud, enemies are pretty stupid, and they'll just keep walking through clouds, taking more and more damage. They won't ever bother stepping out of it, unless it's the more convenient choice. Alright, so this is the optimal, I guess, position for the Hydra. He's at full screen range. I'm going to pop him with an Ice Cloud, and then just walk backwards. As you can see there, I never got anywhere near close to the Hydra. I made sure to fight him from maximum range. That's very helpful for us. Okay, so remember how I said there were tricks and stuff we could use with Fireball? Well, we're going to try to do that here a little bit. Actually, we can't. Damn, that sucks. Alright, we'll throw a fireball, a couple of fireballs out, back off, heal up, throw a fireball out, just keep killing. I don't think the Ocelot can do 50 damage in one turn, so it's good. Alright, there we go. This is a Staff for our trouble. Staff of Power gives us an extra, what, how much? 15 mana, that's ridiculous. But at this stage in the game, it's probably not worth it. Hungerless is probably a little better. Actually, no, I think at this stage in the game where food is plentiful, Staff of Power is actually quite a lot better. 15 mana is insane. And 45 MP is a huge number of, a huge buffer of points that we can abuse this early on. So here's an example of using Ice Clouds to your advantage. Ice Cloud being a smite targeted spell doesn't require like a clean line of sight, so we can just kind of use it over a bush. Polar bears were kind of resistant to the cold, and they also go berserk at lowish HP. So I made sure to start blinking the second he went berserk. There's no need to be in melee with a berserk enemy ever. So I just, you know, blinked away, made use of that spell to get that one extra tile of space, which lets me end the guy's life. Very useful if I say so myself. I'm refraining. Oh shit, that's really bad. Okay, I'm gonna have to blink here. This is a very bad spot to be in. Rupert is like a troglodyte, and you guys know how bad berserkers fuck up regular mages, and so just kind of reciprocate that, and that's what Trog will do. That's what Rupert does to us. So we're actually on the receiving end of a berserker at that point. But everyone should generally know how bad Rupert is. He's like kind of the Sigmund of Lair almost. He's very powerful. But there was also a Rhyme Drake and a Lindworm, which do incredibly high amounts of damage for some reason. Like, I don't know why they're so damn strong, but they just are. It's weird. Okay. I'm exploring to the south, knowing full well that I could be flanked by either Rupert or the Lindworm or the Rhyme Drake. Kind of tempting fate here, but whatever. I'm just trying to get through this floor. I wouldn't bother skipping exactly at this stage in the game. Ow. That's why I don't want to be next to a berserk enemy. He does 15 damage per strike, I guess, and he moves faster than us. So even if we were moving back, we'd still take damage. But Blink is able to, you know, keep us out. There's an example of me using apportation to kind of get a free advantage in combat. I can apport stuff from the edge of line of sight rather than walking all the way up to pick it up. You can think of that as picking up a buff before the fight starts rather than in the middle of it, and taking an extra turn to pick up the spell. Lets us explore more safely. It's a little bit too tedious for my tastes, but like I said, I'll do it when I remember. Scroll of Vulnerability kind of sucks. That is the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen in my life. Okay. We got kind of destroyed there. Rupert just in the corner, like, just unfortunate. Gonna go ahead and kite his ass with just a bunch of freezing clouds. We could be kind of scared here if he decides to hit us with a hex, but for some reason he just didn't, and then we just kind of smashed our way through. He could have easily have paralyzed us and killed us, but I actually had a Robe of Magic resistance at the time, so I wasn't super scared. In addition to that, I also had Curing in case he decided to agility me, to confuse me, and I would just teleport by the time he got towards me. If he got uncomfortably close to me, I actually would have teleported immediately. You could see there in the last encounter that we saw with him, I just blinked away immediately. I need more water, I'm sorry. I had tacos and nachos this night, so I'm very thirsty. Mouth is all dry. Okay, so another 8-headed Hydra. It doesn't really matter how many Hydra heads he has, but I'm going to use the exact same strategy. Don't let him get anywhere near me. Walk back, Freezing Cloud, walk back, Freezing Cloud. He'll die before he even gets to me. If I didn't have Freezing Cloud, I could have done the exact same strategy with Fireball. It would have been probably even faster. Just less. The only reason why I'm using the Freezing Cloud strategy is because this is less loud than the Fireball strat. But the Fireball strat is incredibly serviceable. Like, it's more than enough to deal with it. Also going to use the interaction of fire and ice to make sure I have a blanket of ice clouds to ensure that I can't get firebolted. Lindworms do a crap load of damage, and they're not really fun to fight, so I'm just going to go ahead and just, you know, pretend I didn't see that Lindworm. Okay, I'm going to turn off air magic because I think that's enough training. Turn a bit of conjurations on. Continue with the training on fighting. Probably until I get about 100 hit points. It's pretty good. Maybe not that much, but we'll see. There's a Rhyme Drake. Just use Fireball to kill him. Easy peasy. And yeah, that's probably going to be it for today. I'm already a bit sleepy, so I don't want to talk. Also, someone's messaged me on Discord. Alright, so I'm going to leave it here, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. I probably won't be writing notes for today's video because not much changed. I'll probably write a little bit about Lair, but that's about it. But if you want to check that out, again, links in the description. If you have anything you need to ask me, please leave a comment because I would I'm more than happy to answer your question within about 12 hours of you asking said question. If you like the video, leave a like. Tell your friends. If you want to get people into Mage, let them know. This is a good resource, I think. Yeah, just generally, just do all the stuff that social media giants tell you to do for this one. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow.